Hi chickens, I'm filming this on my old camera, so I'm very sorry about the reduced sound quality, but for some reason my shiny new camera doesn't like my room at this time of night and is just kind of all dark, and so I can't really make it work. I hope you can all hear me okay. This is the second instalment of my thoughts on toxic comparison, because I know that this is a massive thing for a lot of people, and it's a question that comes up regularly when I talk to people about self-sabotage and self-love and stuff like that. Toxic comparison is a big one. So I want to posit a few more thoughts to you about this particular subject, and the first thing that I wanted to start with was the link between toxic comparison and self-sabotage, because I often feel like when we invest a lot of energy into looking at what somebody else is doing or what somebody else has or how they're succeeding in ways that we're not succeeding, it's kind of an excuse to stay put. It's an excuse not to do your own work and not to invest into your own dreams. So I think it would be potentially a good idea to take a look at the areas of self-sabotage that are going on in your own life at the moment and see if you can link them with that sense of toxic comparison. How much energy are you spending kind of looking outwards at other people and using their successes to berate yourself or put yourself down? And how do you think that could be linked to your fear of success? Now, people often talk about fear of failure, and this is a big deal. This is something that a lot of people deal with, but I think fear of success is something we don't talk about enough, and actually a lot of people feel a distinct fear of their own power to change things in their lives if they actually acknowledge the amount of power that they had to change things and to better their own situation and to shape their future according to their real desires. I think it would be a very scary thing. Acknowledging the light and the power that resides inside of us is scary. And so I think a lot of the time toxic comparison is linked to our fear of success. It's much easier to stand on the sidelines and kind of talk yourself out of doing something by telling yourself that somebody else is doing it better, or somebody else has better resources or more intelligence, or whatever it is, whatever your particular flavour of toxic comparison is. It's easy to do that and to stay small and to stay safe, instead of actually opening up to the possibility that you have untold power and untold strength and capability inside of you, and it's time to really do something with it. It's time to get off the sidelines and actually become the main character in your own life. So I think toxic comparison stops that quite a lot of the time. It feeds into self-sabotage. It helps you to feel like you should stay small, because actually going for gold and being bigger in your own life, being better in your own life, really grasping hold of what it is that you want to do is frightening. And it's a lot easier much of the time to kind of look at how other people are succeeding and see it as a reason not to start doing your own thing. So I would encourage you to try and work out if any of that stuff applies to you and think seriously about it, because there are a lot of fears of success in a lot of people, and I think toxic comparison feeds into that, and you can scare yourself out of doing something big and meaningful in your life when you're looking at other people and convincing yourself of your own unworthiness in comparison to those other people. You're scaring yourself out of going for success, and that's actually a form of self-sabotage, because you are scared of succeeding. You have a fear of what your own power would look like if it manifested. And that leads me on to another point that I think I'd be doing you guys a disservice if I didn't bring this one up. So let me just go into my second point, which I think is so vital. A lot of the things that you are jealous of in other people, a lot of the things that you look at in other people and don't see in yourself, and you feel woeful about that and you feel sad about that, those things in other people are actually just unmanifested parts of you. And that's often a lot of the time why you are jealous of them and why you envy them and why you compare yourself to them. Because actually they reside within you, and deep down you kind of know that, and in your higher mind, in your intuitive mind, the deepest parts of yourself already know that that's true. When I look back at some of the toxic comparison that I put myself through with other people, when I was struggling with self-love, and when I was really looking outside of myself and looking at what other people had that I didn't have, I now look back over their qualities and their traits and their perspectives and their ways of doing things, and I realise I had all of that stuff within me, but it was just difficult to access. I used to be really jealous of people who were super highly organised and seemed to have life together in a tangible way. I was jealous of people who could actually channel their inner Queen of Pentacles or King of Pentacles. And actually, out of all the four queens in tarot, and I'm closest to the Four Queens, of course, which is why my business name is the Four Queens, and my YouTube channel, my blog, everything is the Four Queens, right? I feel closest of all to the Four Queens because I really had to put myself through that baptism of fire of learning how to channel them all and embody them all, because I felt like they represented the four chambers of the heart, and without one chamber, the other three would fail. Ultimately, I felt that all four of the queens held energies that were integral to my being, and I needed to learn how to get in touch with them all. And the Queen of Pentacles was really the most difficult one for me, and I was always really envious of people who seemed to channel that Queen of Pentacles energy. And I look back now and I realise that my ability to do those things that I so envied in other people was in me, but it was lying dormant, right? And I was scared to take hold of that part of myself. I was freaked out by that part of myself, and I wanted to keep myself playing the small game by consistently believing that I just wasn't that person and I couldn't be that person. And I still struggle to be that person now, but I always realise now when I look outside of myself at somebody who's really doing it and really making it work for them, that if I feel any envy, if I feel any jealousy, it's really because it's a sign of something that's unmanifest within me, and it's a challenge that's being posed to me by the universe to get in touch with that stuff and to really believe that it does exist and it is there for me, because it is there for me. I also wanted to mention a meme that I see come up online quite a lot, and I think it's really great for the topic of self-love and toxic comparison. And the meme says something like, the reason that we are so often unhappy is because we are comparing our everyday lives with other people's highlight reels. And this made a lot of sense to me because, especially with the advent of the internet and with social media and everybody just loving to share their experiences and share their lives, it's actually very true that we're very selective about what we share. And there's really nothing wrong with that. You know, the persona is a real thing. It's your public face. It's the face that you present to the world. And there will be certain parts of your ego inherent within the persona, but certain parts that will be hidden away because you only want to show them in front of closer company. So we do have this public face and we do have this public life. And the internet has made it really, really easy to kind of crop out all of the inconvenient, messy parts of your public life and put a nice filter over your life and make your life look really presentable and really delicious and really aspirational, and pop it on Instagram or pop it on Facebook. And that's really not a true reflection of anybody's life, right? Everybody has a public life, and some people's public lives look really, really good. A lot of people, most people, I would argue, in fact, only choose to put forth the positive aspects of their lives. They only want to talk about where they've succeeded, or they only want to show the beautiful photos of their relationship where them and their partner are obviously madly in love and have kind of like walked to the top of a hill and maybe one proposed to the other. But that doesn't reflect, like, you know, one Wednesday afternoon where they're arguing about doing the washing up and they kind of storm off away from each other. And you know, that no one's going to take a photo of that stuff and upload it onto Facebook, okay? So no one's showing you actually their everyday lives. So what you're doing is you're taking these aspirational photos or whatever it is that you're looking at, these wonderful sculpted, crafted images of people's lives, which are really just their highlight reels, and you are taking that stuff in, you're absorbing it into you, and you're comparing it to your everyday life, to everything you know about your everyday life, the challenges you're facing, the misery that you're feeling about certain things, the inadequacy that you feel. And really, this is just not fair. It's not fair on you. And it's also not fair on the other person, because that other person has a private life, a life that not everybody gets to see. The daily grind of their life does not look like the picture that they just posted on Instagram of, you know, some beautiful, apparently seminal moment of their day, which kind of like can't compare to anything that you're experiencing. This is just, it's false. The whole idea of comparing your everyday life to somebody's sculpted photo with a filter on it of something magical that happened that week is just not fair to you, and it's irrational. And really, that's a part of toxic comparison that needs to stop, and that's probably one of the most pervasive parts of toxic comparison, I think. So I wanted to mention that to you guys now. Just don't compare your everyday life to somebody else's highlight reel. And I know that we're all guilty of doing it, and I know that we're also all to an extent quite fond of projecting the parts of our lives that we want people to see, and obviously hiding away the nitty-gritty that we don't want everybody to see. And there's nothing wrong with that, but there is something very wrong about comparing your daily life to somebody else's crafted, formulated, very kind of structured version of what they want you to see, because really it's not like that for them. And it's not like that for you either. Everybody has shit to sort out. And so it's very unfair on you and very unfair on the other person to compare everything that you know about your life and your psyche and your problems to just kind of a few sculpted versions of people's lives that don't really reflect what's going on. Not entirely. So I think that's an important thing that I wanted to say. I finally wanted to talk about a article that I read a long time ago on thedailylove.com. I'm sure a lot of you read it. I love reading it. And it was an article written by a woman called Christine Arillo. And she wrote about the fact that she realised after a long time of toxic comparison that she had to give her toxic bits different jobs. And this was really clever for me because it's about personifying parts of the psyche, which is something that Jung was very interested in, and it's something that I'm very interested in. So she took a look at the part of herself that was very interested in toxic comparison and very interested in berating herself for the things that other people were doing and achieving that she didn't feel she could do and achieve herself. And she realised it was a problem. And she took that little part of her psyche and she decided to call it her comparison queen. And every time her comparison queen reared its ugly head and made her feel inadequate, she recognised it as the comparison queen. I know this part of me, I know this part of my psyche, and I know what it's trying to do to me, and I call it my little comparison queen. And she said she decided to take her comparison queen and give it a different job. She changed her comparison queen into her talent scout. So instead of finding people that made her feel inadequate about herself and made her feel competitive and jealous and as though she was no good, instead she decided to look upon these people who made her feel jealous and competitive as inspirations, people that could encourage her to go further and do more, people who could show her what was really possible. So instead of seeing somebody to envy and seeing somebody who was making her feel bad, she was seeing somebody that could produce in her that feeling of fire and desire. And I thought that was really clever. And so I urge you to find different jobs for your inner comparison king or queen. Notice the amount of energy that you tend to invest in toxically comparing yourself to other people. And remember, as I said in my first toxic comparison video, that you are the master of that energy. And it's time for you to own it. It's time for you to repackage it. It's time for you to send it somewhere so much more fruitful, so much more productive, and so much more proactive and nurturing and healthy for you. So when you see that you are giving all of your energy and focus to your inner comparison queen, just send your comparison queen a memo and say, hey, you know, that's not the job for you. I want you over here kind of trying to find people that inspire me, people that encourage me to follow my creative bliss, people who are walking their joy path, who can really show me how to walk mine and how to be authentic in myself. You know, that's the job we're doing now. We are not looking at people and feeling jealous or feeling resentful. We are looking at people and feeling like this is an example of possibility for me, and this is an example of something that I can manifest, which is currently dormant within me and is available within me. So these are further thoughts on toxic comparison, and I'm sorry that the light was really shabby, but I've had hardly any time to film videos, but I hope you've been checking out the4queens.com. I have been blogging much more regularly than I've been making videos, and Twitter, I've been posting self-love September tweets, so head on over to Twitter if you want to see more from me on self-love. Much love.